My name is Arif Gilany. I was born in a small village just here. This is my village, a place of magic and wonder. Always will be in my mind. Because when I was a child, we had a lot of great memories that we created in this small community and no more than 50 households. So for me to be here, to be in Toronto, to go around the world, to meet people from all over the place, from a very small village and humble beginning was a great achievement. And I'm very proud to present a great opportunity today that's going to make an impact in the lives of immigrants. Again, this is 1988. We're in the middle of the war between Iran and Iraq. Got injured in the war when I was a kid, so we spent a couple of years in the mountains because there was no home. The home was invaded. One side was the Iranian army, the other side was the Iraqi army, so we were homeless for 2 years. That's the time that we spent in the mountains. But always, I was an avid reader. I always loved to read books. And at this age, my brother gave me a book called Uncle Tom's Cabin. And this book was about Canada, about a slave who ran away from the south of US, come to Canada, and eventually became a judge, became a very prominent citizen. And I said, wow, what a great country. If you can go, somebody like me, even be a normal citizen, have the rights and freedoms that everybody else has. Came to Canada back in 1993. My first job was Canadian Tire Home Office. I was the mailman, so I took the mail from floor to floor all the way to the CEO, and I started to notice that people who are rich, they act a little bit different than the people who are normal. People who have high jobs in the higher floors were a little bit different than the people on lower floors. And I started to dig in why and what's the secret and how we can really make ourselves part of those people. I graduated from college in 2001 and I started working at FedEx as an operation manager. Give me a chance to travel, so from Dallas to California to everywhere, and I spent 6 months in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in leadership training. And the word leadership was just unknown to me at the time until I started to learn some corporate lingo about leadership, how to lead a team, how to bring people together, and how to build functioning teams. Same time, I started to work as a financial advisor. I got my licenses, started selling insurance, investments at a company, and I liked it, and it was so inspirational that eventually I left my job at FedEx, started the financial services company, my own. Through that company, I was able to also travel the world, learn a lot about money and finance. We also have a department that talks specifically about money and finance because it's that important. Leon is here, also will be talking about that. But a couple of the books that I was really inspired is one called Think and Grow Rich. It's a formula book, formula for success, for your thinking, for all the things that you wanted to accomplish. And it was written back in 1930s. At the time, there was not too many millionaires. There was a handful of millionaires in America, 500. And this gentleman, based on recommendation, went and interviewed every millionaire. Just find out what's their mind like, what's their habit, what do they do day to day, how did they make all this money. And what he found out, he put in the book and formulated. When COVID-19 hit, I was reading this book for another time. This is the 5th time I was reading, and I was saying, how can I not really apply this book to my own life and make things happen? How can I make it simpler, easier for average person to understand? Next version of it, which is this book that I wrote, Ministry of Miracle. I believe everybody's looking for a miracle. We want things to happen like this, wake up one day, life is all beautiful, but there's a lot of hard work to go into creating miracles. Every single day we go out, we have our dreams, we have our goals, we have our jobs, we have things that happen to us. And on October 18, I started to biking down the street, in my own world. Somebody hit me from behind and I was flipped on my bike. The back of my head hit the sidewalk across the street. So I was tossed. By the time I was at Sunnybrook Hospital, the doctor said that it was a heart rate of only 25%. When I woke up 2 weeks later, I was in a coma. My family didn't know, anybody didn't know what had happened to me. I woke up and I found nothing. There was emptiness in my mind. I couldn't remember my name. I didn't know anybody that was around me. I didn't know what was happening. Slowly over time, 3, 4, 5 months of back and forth to hospital, and I realized that my memory was wiped out and I had to relearn everything. From A, B, spoon, eat, socks, feet, everything I had to learn. So like a baby that was 45 years old, I started to learn this. But being curious myself, I also started to research. Every time a doctor talked to me, the accident, I started to ask them questions because I wanted to know what happened inside my brain. We need to have Full control over our time, our management of our all faculties. This is really what I am going to. I woke up from the coma, who I was. Where's the next people to me? Who is here? And also, why am I here? Why did I come to Canada? Oh, my family's home, they told me. What am I doing here? And where am I going from here? You know, I have been here for 30 years and I still didn't know where I was, what I was doing, and because the memory was totally gone. And I started to think about the options that I had in 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, and how I can catch up with all of this loss of bodily. I was 210 pounds when I had the accident. After the accident, 3 months later, I was 165. So I had lost a lot of weight. I was very weak, but my mind started to think about all of the things that I had learned in this process. So what I found out was we come from two places. Who am I? When I ask myself, who am I? I'm thinking about my genes, my mom, my dad, and then the environment. The first village that I grew up, I started to research all of this. Okay, there was a small village, I was there, and then the war happened, and then we ran away. All of the things I started to reconnect. Genetic hereditary, this is explained detailedly in the book. We are the sum total of all of our ancestors. Your mom, your dad, your ancestors, going back 5, 6, 7 generations. You bring to this world with you their good habits and some of their bad habits and everything that they were made of, the makeup of your family. And I'm proud to be from a family that most of my Kurdish friends know. There's been books been written about it, movies been made about this, but this is our ancestor that went from north of Iran to Baghdad to study. The last thing that had a major impact on my hereditary was my father here. Just about this time he passed away. I was blessed to be in Middle East for the last 2 years and spend a lot of time with him as a small son. To come and go all over the world and never go back to your home country and serve your family doesn't feel good. One of the things that he said, that if you even live in paradise, if you're by yourself, you're not going to be fulfilled, you're not going to be happy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your responsibility, it's my responsibility to become wealthy, to have abundance, to do all the things that we can do. So this social hereditary is called the paradigm, and the paradigm has produced this result. You know, I taught financial services like Leon here. I sat down with 1,000, maybe 2,000 families, husband and wives, single families, sitting down, telling their income statement, how much was income, how much was expenses. And many, many times in this city right today, the income is much less than the expenses. It's called inflation. Even the country of Canada has this. Families across the world live in deficit, and deficit is more money, it's financially, and the paradigm that I talked about, this mental jam has produced the results that we see. We're not clear. Pharmaceutical companies are not here to make us well. You know, the banks are not here to make us rich, and the government is not here to ensure that we have everything that we need. It's our responsibility, and thank God for Canada, we have the freedom to do that. Many differences. There's a word called equanimity, and I didn't know this word is very powerful. Equanimity. This means evenness of the mind. It's like being a commander in the war zone, that the bullets are flying from all over, but you're calm, you're relaxed, you're in control of your mind because you know the condition that you're under. This is what these people have. They have calmness of mind, they have clarity, they know exactly what they want out of life, and they go ahead and step by step, day by day, acquire all the things that they want and they can have in life. I met people who have millions of dollars. I've interviewed many of them, and I found out most of them think very parallel. They think alike. Rich people think a little bit different than the average person, and it takes a lot of programming, it takes a lot of reprogramming our environmental to be able to separate ourselves from the masses. Thank God we live in Canada, we live in the first world. It's absolutely possible, and for immigrants I have wonderful news. Over 70%, 75% of all self-made millionaires in North America, US and Canada came from another country. Imagine that. 75% of people who have money came from another country, and they quickly adjusted it because they have hustle. The person who is born here might just go for entertainment or for a little bit of fun, but the person who comes from another country, come from under bullet, they are hungry. You can never win against an immigrant because you're powerful, you're hungry, you're here to do something, to make a mark for yourself. So we're gonna break this statistics. My personal goal is to impact the lives of 10,000 people. That's what my ancestors have done. There was no internet, there was horses, donkeys, and camels. We have internet, you have everybody else here. We can do this in much faster time. If you had the resources, if you had the people, if you have the time. Just small example, I have a very young guy that I adopted through World Vision. Back, 10, 15 years ago, I was sitting watching my TV and I saw this guy coming in, and I pull out my credit card and I called them and I sponsored this guy. Today that guy is 21. He has a computer store in Gambia, West Africa. Eventually, just last month, I found him an investor in US who's sending $5,000 to start a very modern shop with some equipment to start his business. Ladies and gentlemen, you can make a difference in the lives of people if you're rich. I've never seen a poor person who helped another. Chateau came back from the mission that he did $20,000 and cost a lot of money, $20,000, $30,000 just to put it there. But the people who had no money couldn't help. There's only people who could make sacrifices, who put the money effort, were able to make a difference in the lives of other people. This is one slide that I was sharing with my students back in financial services, 4 ways to make money. Robert Kiyosaki, some of you have heard his name. He's written this book called A Cash Flow Quadrant, and he explains that there's only 4 ways to make money. We all want money. The first one is employed. We have a job, we go exchange time for money. Number 2, self-employed, dentists, lawyers, real estate, all of the people who depend on themselves. Business owners, McDonald's, Tim Hortons is ready. Whenever you guys have, we're gonna have a break, we can have a coffee, and then we're gonna continue. But the ultimate goal is to become an investor. Frank and I have a project, and he says we need a seed money. Seed money is some money when you put down where the bank will provide you with the rest, or the government, or whatever. Investors have seed money. They put in businesses and they profit for the rest of their life. When Frank makes it, maybe even 5 years from now, somebody watches, he still gets residual from it. He still gets a payment because it's an investment. Businesses are set like McDonald's, Tim Hortons, somebody who had $1 million. One of my friends told me, you were here 20, 30 years, why didn't you buy 1 or 2 McDonald's or Tim Hortons at the time? So, well, that wasn't my purpose. I don't want McDonald's or Tim Hortons. I don't work for money. I want money to work for me. I have control over me. I put me to work to bring in the money. I don't want to be a slave to money. I want to master. These people have mastered money. They know how money works. They know the ins and outs, and we're meeting with politicians and people in power. Everybody wants this thing called right here. How do we break it? How do we go from being employed for the rest of our lives to moving through this is very simple process that this afternoon I was teaching my students there. I was at FedEx. I had a full-time job. I also had a part-time job. I was a self-employed financial advisor. Nighttime, I go see one client. I remember a night like this, I saw 5 customers that day, and I came and had to do a presentation. 5 customers, each, let's say $75 premium, which is monthly payment you pay for insurance. And I had closed all of them. 5 times 3, that was the 7th. $750, that was $4,000 in one shot, part-time, besides my job. You think that was a good night? Yes, it was a good day. You can make money part-time if you're in the right place with the right vehicle. All of this data, all of these pictures, all of these slides have been researched. This is from Department of Human Resources Canada. It says that all of the millionaires in the world, this is the statistics. Entrepreneurs make 74%. This is a really great status. Maybe you didn't even know, but that's people just like you and I. Had one idea, put it to work, stayed with it for long enough, and they become millionaires. Everybody wants their children, to be doctors. Did you know that that's only 10% of rich? If it's rich to be, doctor, that you're going to be rich, that's the wrong way of thinking. You're going to be a doctor because you love to heal people. These are really the experts, the top 5% of any company. Doctors, CEOs, salesperson make 5%. You have a better chance of being a millionaire at salesperson than actually to being a CEO or a doctor millionaire. Did you know that? Because in sales, you can sell more than one a day. See, more than one a day. The lucky winner is only 1% of millionaires. So this is for all of my friends who want to get into business, want to start something new, want to collaborate together.